Good morning from Northern Ontario. It's a beautiful day today. It's about minus 14. The sun's finally poked its head out, and it's been hiding for the last few days. We had to head down to Southern Ontario for an appointment on December 1st. Today's the 7th. We left in a snowstorm and came back in a snowstorm, and as a result, we have about a foot of snow. Unfortunately, before I left, I didn't have an opportunity to get the snowblower on. Life gets in the way, and we just got a little bit behind this year. So we'll get it on today. It's the first time I put this particular blower on my LX2620, so we're going to have to work through it. So join me, and we'll get the blower installed, and hopefully we'll get some of this mess cleaned up. Well, here it is, the LX2963. It's the performance match blower for the LX2620. It's a residential blower. It's not a commercial blower, but nonetheless, it's still pretty heavy duty. When you receive the blower, it comes in three parts. You have the actual blower itself, the subframe, and you have a drive shaft which hooks up to the mid PTO. Before we do the install, I'm just going to go around and do some maintenance on it. It looks like it's been pretty well put together and greased up, but I always want to double check, and we get that done before we get it installed. When you get the subframe, it comes fully assembled, so your dealer would have put it together. So it's kind of incumbent on you just to go around and make sure that it's been greased and been put together properly. So check all the nuts and bolts, check the zerks to make sure that they've been greased. But what I want to point out are these little set screws down here. What these set screws do is they go through the housing on the bearing, and it holds the shaft in place. What happened to me in my BX2650 is those set screws loosened up, and luckily I found when I just underneath the tractor, they're just kind of checking bolts and stuff. I just happened to hang on to the drive shaft, and it actually slid forward quite loosely. I took it off and I looked, and there were 4 of these set screws in the housings here, and there was one left which had loosened up, which allowed that shaft to move back and forth. Now, in the instruction manual, when they put it together, it calls for Loctite. Now, if there was Loctite on my other subframe, I don't know. I never checked. However, either way, those set screws loosened up. So if you do get a Kubota snowblower, they all have these bearing housings with these set screws. Ensure that you check them to make sure that they are tight, and if not, then add some Loctite. Critical would have been a costly damage to the tractor. Luckily, I managed to catch it, so very, very important. So just go around, check all the connections, make sure everything is tight before you put the subframe onto the tractor. Our first step is to take these 2 T-bars out, one located at the rear of the subframe, and there's another at the front of the subframe, held on with these little clevis pins. What we're going to do next is we're just going to slowly drive the tractor over top of the subframe until we line up with this attachment point with the part of the frame that is already attached to the tractor. After you've driven over the subframe and have it lined up with the connection points, you're simply going to lift this subframe on with these hooks onto the 2 pins on either side of the front of the tractor. There is a bracket here that is part of the subframe that's on the tractor, and like I say, you're just going to lift the subframe and hook it on. That allows the subframe to pivot quite easily, and I can then lift it up and attach the back contact point. It does have a bit of weight to it. You can manage it yourself, but certainly you may need two people to lift that up onto those hooks. So next we're just going to lift the back of the subframe up to the contact point. I've already put some grease in these pockets here before I'm going to put the pin through. So I just want to lift this up, and I can easily slip the bracket through. There is a notch here which will accommodate this T-handle and keep it locked in. So that's it for the subframe. It's attached. We'll just go back to the front, and I can put that front pin in, and then we'll get the blower attached. We'll get the clevis pins into those attachment bars or T-bars just to lock them in. This one at the front, and don't forget the one at the back. And that's it for the subframe. Okay, we've got the drive shaft. We're going to connect it to the mid PTO, but before we do that, we want to make sure that we hook it to the snowblower first. You have a little bit of play there in the spline. I've greased both splines, both on the mid PTO and on the snowblower. Set the locking collar. It's on. A lot of free movement there. It's out of in neutral, and obviously the PTO is disengaged, which allows it to move quite freely. So once the drive shaft's on, we should be ready to connect the hoses and get the snowblower attached. Next, you just want to hook up your hydraulic hoses. The up and down for the blower is in white and yellow, top and bottom, and for the chute rotation is blue and red. So again, you should have marks, or your lines should be marked accordingly. If they're not, you're going to have to figure it out. You can always reverse them. So remember, yellow and white is up and down, and red and blue is chute rotation. So once you've got the subframe and tractor lined up, we're simply going to raise the subframe into the blower, and we'll go ahead and lock it in. Once you've got the blower lifted with the subframe, you're just going to lock it in with the T-pins, and you're going to pull this lever forward, and that engages your K-connect, attaching the PTO shaft to the blower. And that's it. Let's try it out. One thing I like to do, I just have some chain oil here. I just like to give the gear on the chute rotation a little bit of a spray because it tends to rust. And I like to just kind of put a little bit of chain oil in there as well. One thing to remember, don't use grease in this chute rotation, because when it gets cold, it'll bind your chute rotation up. So use a light oil if you're going to use anything, or like I say, chain oil. I used that for years with my B2650, and I never had any problems with it, but it does keep things well lubricated. If you have a snowblower with a chain drive on it, excellent product for keeping that chain lubricated as well. So there you have it, the install of the Kubota LX2963 snowblower. All in all, not a bad job. A little bit of a learning curve, but again, it's the first install. As we install it more often, it should get a little bit easier. Didn't have a big opportunity to try it out today, but over the next week or so, we'll have some pretty, calling for some pretty good snowfalls. So we'll get it back out, maybe make another video, and let you have a real good look at it. So remember, be safe out there, enjoy the great outdoors. Thanks for watching.